For very logical or Cartesian people in France, we are a lot of very Cartesian people. So when people will do 8 to 10 good feedback, they say, yeah, but what's happened? Am I crazy? Something wrong in my mind? What is that? And it's quite hard to have such talk and say, I don't care. I just believe about what I live and what I observe. How can you help people who want to understand why you succeed case and in ESP, who are afraid about that because there are no explanation? How do you help these people?
What helped me was when Jose, at one of the graduate courses, he said, people want to know, what is reality? How do we know it's real? How do we know it's not real? He said, well, we really don't know what's real and what's not real. Things we thought were not real turned out now they're scientifically proven as they're real. And there's things we thought that were very real, and it turns out they really weren't. It was a misunderstanding. What we thought was magic was science. What we thought was science was just superstition. He said, so what is reality? He said, reality is that when it's applied to a problem, solves the problem without leaving a bigger problem in its place. If you think something, do something, I got a magic crystal and I did it and my arthritis went away. Well, you solved a problem. I don't care whether the crystal did it, your belief did it, a star in the sky did it, God did it. Those are your beliefs. The fact is you applied something and it solved a problem without making it worse. You didn't hide the problem and it showed up. Now you can't ever use your hands again. It solved the problem without making a worse problem. That is reality, even if we don't understand how that reality came about. And I'll look at how many, I don't care what religion or superstition you have, people have been healed through feathers, through rocks, through dances, through clouds, through mountains, through frogs, it works. Now, we think it has to do with the belief system. Believe in it, you shall achieve, that kind of a thing. Belief is that's why in the Silva we talk about desire. You have to want it. I don't care if you believe in it. If you don't want it, there's something missing in that formula. Desire, you have to want it. And how much do you want it? And we increase desire by visualizing the end result, not how hard it's going to be to get there or what's going to have. We just go to the end result. That builds desire. It makes it more attractive. It's a magnet, pulls us into that future. But something has to hold that desire up. There's a lot of things I want, but I don't believe I'll have them. I'd love to have 3 Jaguars and 4 Mercedes. I really don't. But let's say I did want them. First of all, I don't want them. But if I really did want them, I probably could manifest them or create them. But I don't believe that. First of all, I don't believe it would be good for me. And secondly, I really don't believe that I would just be able to make them come out of thin air. I'd have to work a whole lot of hours I don't want to work to get them. Although I did visualize a car, and out of the blue, somebody gave me a car for free back when I was starting out teaching my Silva. So I had a car to go to the training as well as they got to the training. So desire and then belief, but that alone isn't quite enough. There has to be something where expectation means on a scale of 1 to 10, how convinced are you that this will happen? And the other side of it was, how much doubt do you still have that this could happen? So I measure it. How convinced am I? And as I went along with the different kinds of using the visualization, the mirror of the mind, all these different techniques, I would become more convinced. And therefore, it's like a balloon. You squeeze one end, the other end gets smaller. The doubt would go down, and the conviction would go up. And I think there's a tipping point. And then the other one is you can suspend disbelief. You don't have to have belief, but you can suspend disbelief. And that allows you, like in a movie, you can laugh and cry and get scared and all that. And it's just little lights flickering on a screen because you suspend disbelief, and that allows you to enter into that reality and experience it. And I think that's often how when we do our programming, as we call it, a visualizing, a mirror of the mind, or a suggestion, we can suspend disbelief. But I also think you can build belief.
Yeah. Lee? You have a question?
I'm just loving the way you describe things.
Yeah, you.
I love the way you think.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to explain. We talked about that with the 3-finger techniques and this 3 points, so desire, expectation, and belief. And it's always interesting to listen how he explain that all the 3 need to be works and to be together to give something good. So it's interesting how he give the metaphor, the idea about that. I like this way of
And the mystical 3 is also body, mind, spirit coming together and working together with desire, belief, and expectancy. So it covers the dimensions as well as the psychological, emotional states of being.
This anchor is very interesting. We talked a lot about that with Lee, because that's an anchor, a classical anchor, and in hypnosis everybody do a different anchor, but it's interesting to understand that it is an anchor and it is a suggestion. It's two things in one. We know we have 3 aspects or 6 aspects if we tell. No, if you use what you told, and it's interesting to say to ourselves, okay, when I do that, I go in my alpha or in my trance, okay, and this is a suggestion. This is something I give it to me each time I do that. So it's what you told before. What is interesting in the method, it's always the same suggestion, repeat and repeat and repeat. And in our subconscious mind, it's so nice to have this comfort zone. We know this suggestion. We know that we activate it quite easily and more easily with life and with repetition. And it's nice to observe that, because a lot of time in hypnosis is, okay, you will be in this state if you do that. That's cool. But it's not a suggestion. It's just the activation of the states, but not the same idea. I think these techniques look very easy and for hypnotists quite normal, but I think it's more than just our classical hypnotic anchor. It's two things in one, in fact. It's
well, notice when we're in the class, they're in a relaxed, resourceful, we call it a trance. They're in a resourceful state when the instructor, whenever you put the tips of the first 2 fingers and thumb of either hand together, and they do it in the class, they actually do it. So they're self-anchoring with the suggestion of the instructor. Whenever you do this, a resourceful state will automatically be there, and more so every time you practice. And so then when now 50 years later, when I meditate, I start with my 3 fingers together, or sometimes I keep it through the whole, or at some point I say, I put that activity, and it's associated not just with a trance state or meditative state, it's a resourceful state. So before I drive in a long distance drive, I'll always drive with enhanced intuition and awareness. I'll be aware of any dangers, problems, law enforcement officers, or any potential problems, radar traps. So I do that, and I don't have to keep my 3 fingers together while I'm driving. I've already given my subconscious, go to your higher level of awareness throughout this trip. I mean, I like it throughout my life, but reinforcement. Pavlov found with the ring the bell, the mouth watered. First, he had to do it a number of times before the link was made. But then the more he did it, the easier it happened. He could do it, especially happened when the dog was hungry. It didn't happen so much when the dog wasn't hungry. But after he did it enough times, even when the dog wasn't hungry, his mouth would salivate, the dog's mouth would salivate. However, if he started ringing the bell too many times and there was no food, no nothing, it would eventually diminish. That's one of the things. The things with humans is we have a subconscious that can keep that reinforcement going, even if our conscious mind is not even thinking about it. So I can get in a car now, put my 3 fingers together, and not even give the suggestion, and start driving without the 3 fingers. And my subconscious it's like flipping a light switch. I don't have to keep the light on, hold my hand on the switch. I just know how to turn it on. And if I don't want it on, maybe eventually I have one of those lights that if you leave the room for 20 minutes, it shuts itself off. But I walk back in the room, it comes back on again. So, and after a while, it just becomes, it's not something you do. It becomes who you are. I am an intuitive person. I don't turn intuition on and off. It's part of who I am. I don't turn my eyesight on and off. If I want to see, I see. If I don't want to see, I close my eyes. It becomes part of my being. And I think that's where the people who keep practicing going to level on a regular basis, meditating on a regular basis, using auto-suggestion, self-hypnosis, or being hypnotized on a regular. Anybody, a hypnotist is basically training their subject how to learn how to go into hypnotic states on their own. They're teachers. They're not doing it to you. They're helping, they're getting it from you and teaching you how to do it until finally you don't need the hypnotist. You can do anything the hypnotist does on your own. However, I mean, you can play checkers by yourself, but I'll tell you, it's not the same as when you play checkers with somebody else. You can hypnotize yourself, but you know, when you don't have to play both sides of the board, you can just sit back and let them do all the thinking and the intellectual, and you can just get there and soak it up like a sponge. So there is an advantage to having an external person help you, even though you can do it yourself.
Lee, you want to say something?
No, I was just saying here.
Okay.
I totally agree. Yeah.
You will follow these instructions at this level or any other level. You may accept or reject anything I say at any level of the mind. You are always in control.
Yeah. Do you think that the method gives you confidence about what you are really? In fact, when you explain what you told before, it's like now you don't use technique, you live what you are, and you believe that's what you feel, you listen, you have in your mind the information is okay, and you know how to use it. And it's not much more method or techniques, but some part of yourself, because you know yourself, you have some reference, you have some experiences. Do you think that the method is a way to believe in ourselves, our resource, our capacities, and such things?
That's at one of the neurological levels when you get to belief. Eventually, it goes beyond that to identity, who I am, not just what I do and what I can do and all these techniques and all. It's who I am. But then it goes to the next level. What do I belong to? It's not me, I, me. It's us, we, the universe, the family, the nation, the humanity. So that's, and it's like when I eat, I get my nourishment, my body's healthy, but that doesn't mean I don't have to eat again. I just took a shower doesn't mean, well, I'm clean. I don't have to take a shower ever again. I reinforce it by the books I read. Every morning, I start out with, at night, I might read detective stories and spooky stories and watch these movies. In the morning, I read inspirational, contemplative prayer, different hypnosis books. It's stuff that are feeding, and that is part of feeding the who I am. And what am I more than? What's more than me? What do I belong to? That's much, much more the spiritual dimension. And I may not be religious, because I think all religions have something that are really good, and I think all religions have some really screwed up stuff going on. However, you don't have to be religious to be moral, to do the right thing, to be good, to be kind, to be generous. Those are human characteristics. They don't. Nobody owns those as a philosophy or religion, whatever. That's a human potential. So I just want to be more and more and more human, because as has been said before me, there are no human beings on the planet Earth. There are 7.5 billion human becomings. We are becoming more and more human. Now you look around, there's not a lot of evidence of that, but I look for not where there's evidence that we're not humane, that we're terrible beasts. That's true. But I look for, where are we spiritual? Where are we humane? Where do we, even in the midst of war and destruction, somebody reaches out and even helps the enemy to stay alive for another 5 minutes. So that's what I focus on. And that helps me, as you say, be more of who and what I really am, not the ego. I got to win over you and beat you and be better than you. It's who am I? Who's that me that wants to do all that? That's my ego. That's not the who I really am. That's the false illusion.
Isn't that beautifully summed up in you are a superior human being, which means you are more understanding and compassionate to others. So yes. I love that.
Yeah. I like the way how Jerry's explained. For me, it's we talk about that, Lee. how you feel with Jose. I like this idea in the method, not think only about ourselves, but just take care about people who are close to us and other people. Your friend are like your brother, father, sister, so on. And I like this idea. When you told that, for me it was that I'm connected to everybody. Everybody have his own problem, his own way of thinking, of doing, and so on. But I people who want try to take care about what we are, to show to people what we can be, and to help them in their pain, their problem. Because if they are bad, worse than other people, that's because life is quite hard. And I like the method for that. It's not think just about you and your ego, but think, yeah, you are a part of big stuff, and you can help other people to be better, to feel better. And that's very specific, I think, from this method. In hypnosis, we never talk about that. Even in spiritual hypnosis, we say, okay, we're all connected. But we do, when we do some past life regression or between life, it's interesting, but it's always for ourselves, our ego, our last life, or stuff like that. In the method, I like the idea. When I work on myself, I always need to take care and think about people who have problem. In the morning meditation, for example, we think about people who need problem. When we do a case, we need to think about last case that we did. And I like this idea to stay connected, to say, okay, I have problem, I need to take care about myself. But if I'm better and I feel better, everybody can be better, and I will help them, because they can help me without doing anything but just be connected to the big people. And I think it's a main point of the method. We don't talk too much about that because people want very concrete stuff. But the philosophy, when I listen Jerry, when I listen Lee and observe Lee, when I read or watch some video about Jose, I think it's the main point. What is your feeling about that? What is for you the core of the system, Jerry and Lee?
So let me start it's not the cause, but one of the reasons I was able to be a heroin addict was it didn't matter. When we were in the middle in the United States, and because France had already fought Vietnam before and then they got out, but the United States was stuck in this war and being lied to by our government. We found our religious leaders were lying to us. Our politicians were lying to us. We back then it was like, don't believe anybody over 30 because they just lie to you. Because they say, oh, just work hard and be in a corporation and you'll have a wonderful life and have 2 kids and a station wagon and a barbecue, whatever. So we just got. I was totally disgusted with human beings. I said, there is no intrinsic value in a human being. We're worse than monkeys. The monkeys don't. Yeah, they kill each other, but not like human beings do. Not with bombs and flamethrowers and napalm. And so when I did the first cases, I said, whoa, I must be connected. I can't get that information from inside this cranium, in this brain. It's not in there. It's coming from something beyond what I think of as a human being. That is not, and like I said, I waited till I did 25 of them. And when I got 25 accurate ones, I said, all right, there's enough evidence, scientific evidence by experience, getting out the ones that were too likely and probable, and those anybody could guess, and the ones that were very unusual. There was one I gave Mary Lou, my wife, a case, and first thing she said was, oh, she's got 4 kidneys instead of 2. How many people have you ever heard of that have 4 kidneys instead of 2? What's the mathematical? All right, you're a mathematician. What's the mathematical calculation of the likely probability that somebody on their first guess would guess 4 kidneys on all they heard was a name, age, and location? You're in another country and you don't even know anybody there. I said, those are the things that told me there has to be a connection, whether we explain it away through spiritual, religious, or any other means. I don't care. I study it. I want to know how does this stuff work. For me, it gives me more than the belief, an experience of being connected. As you said, when we remember our most successful case, that tunes us back into that channel, that frequency. If I want to go back to Netflix, I have to go to that specific. I can't go to, some other ESPN or some other channel. I got to go to that channel. So by tuning back into that, helps you find that bandwidth again. And then that reconnects. Okay, now I'm tuned into that. Reminds me I am more than I thought I was. Human beings are more than we thought we were. We're in our infancy. We have a long way to go. We have a long way to childhood's end. However, there's something more. And that's what sustains me. And it's not just a belief or a thought. It's my experience is that there is a connection between all that is. And of course, physics, I studied a lot of physics and quantum physics, and they're coming to the same conclusion, and as the Zen masters and the Hindu, gurus, they've all basically said the same thing. Just nobody knows how or why, but there's something that connects us.
And Yoli, what do you think about that? Do you think the same, or do you have a different way of thinking?
All I can say is that I did my first class back in the 80s. I became an instructor when I was 88, and I am still discovering how much we are all connected, and I'm still being amazed by it. And it's not that I didn't believe it before, but it just keeps on growing. It's just fantastic.
Great. Do you want to do a little more, or just stop here today? And if you want, Jerry, and if you like this type of meeting, we can do one other in 2 or 3 weeks, like you want. Tell me what you prefer.
Let me give you a question. I want you to imagine you're one of the people listening to this podcast. You're collectively, but put it down to the collective mind. What might be one of the questions based on what we've done today? What might be a question they might have, and you ask it for them?
I think for me, it's always for this one. I think it's for the habits. I think people need to understand they are able to change their habits, because a lot of people, for example, I'll give you a very concrete stuff. Last week, I began a little group on Facebook and say we will do 30 days habits work. Okay, so since last week, I have people who works. We are 17, and everybody with his own way. I give some ID, some plan, but a lot of people say, "Oh, I didn't succeed to stop my habits." I say, "Hey, you have 30 days. The time is quite important." But it's interesting to observe how someday people say, "Oh, that's so cool. I succeed to say stop to that, to decrease this or that." And the next day they say, "Oh, I'm bad because I didn't succeed to do the same like yesterday," and stuff like that. And I think when people will work on their habits and listen to this podcast and say, "Oh, that's great, Jerry did that with heroin. It's not food, it's not cigarettes, and he did that with cigarettes too." So but sometimes they don't believe in themselves enough, and each time they observe that it's okay 1 day, perhaps 2 days, perhaps 3 days, but the fourth day go down. It's not okay. I think it's perhaps, if you have an idea or something interesting to share with them, to keep belief in what they did, and the succeed that they had before, but not to go down. Because each time I feel that they go down and feel that I'm not able to, because today it was not a good day. You understand?
I do. I guess I'd want to look at it from a macro level, at the 10,000 kilometers or whatever, as everything is habits. The reason why when you stop the habit of something like smoking and go back to it is because you've got a habit of that's stronger than trying to build the new habit of instead of smoking, drinking fresh water, or taking a couple of 3 deep breaths, or going out and exercising, until that becomes the habit. the meditation going to level became the habit that replaced the habit. And the person who gets down on themselves, that's a habit. They have a habit of, oh, I didn't do that. I'm not perfect. We aren't after perfection. We're after progress. Most people who try to stop smoking just by whatever they try to do, chewing gum or something else, most people will have a relapse and go back to smoking more than once. But if they don't say that means I have to be a smoker the rest of my life, no, it just means that I need to develop the habit of being a non-smoker a little bit more and find something else to replace it. And then it might take a couple of times. As playing tennis, you might not hit the ball every time. Playing chess, you may not win every time. Doing any sport or any musical instrument, you may hit wrong notes. That's I guess I can't play the piano or the guitar or whatever it may be. It means I guess I need to practice more. And the more I make it part of who and what I am, I just play the guitar every day. I just play, I play golf every day. The more you do that, the more it gets integrated. So we're not talking about getting rid of a habit. We're talking about integrating a new behavior pattern, which are habits. Our life is built on millions of little habits. And you don't have to think about, do I brush my teeth? I don't have to go at night. Gee, how can I make myself brush my teeth tonight? It's a habit. It's a routine. It's part of the getting ready for bed routine. So there's habits within habits within habits within habits. And that becomes more and more instead of behaviors or even the capability to do that, or even the beliefs that it's who I am. Who I am is somebody who cares about their health and well-being.
Sorry, Lily.
So basically, you're changing the habit of what you think about yourself, aren't you?
Yes.
So I think it really hit me when one of my students was telling me he used habit control to stop being disorganized, and he was walking out of his office and he turned around and saw he hadn't tidied it, and he said, I just walked automatically back into the office and I heard myself saying, oh, somebody as organized as I would never leave their office in this mess. And then he suddenly twigged that what had changed was not just his behavior, but it was his self-image. So he's going to behave like who he thinks he is. And I think that really is the secret of habit control. So thank you for making it so clear. Yeah.
The one point you show, and I think it's very hard for people who want to change habits or create new habits. We have different semantics. And you point it's they want to become perfect, and that's, I think, a very difficult things in hypnosis and even in Silva method. It's people want to do the techniques and do the best that they can for doing good. And for them, they think if I do that, I will have a feedback, and this feedback will be, I will stop from the day 1 to day 2, and it's over. And if they just observe that they decrease something, and after that, this point increase a little bit, they think I'm not good. And it's like in transactional analysis, they go in child state. They are not adults. They go back. Oh, I'm bad kids. I'm not good. I'm not good enough. So I'm unlovable. And there are a lot of pattern inside there. But for me, this point, what I do looks good, but the result is not perfect. So it's not good. So I can't succeed to change. How can help people to say, hey, it's not a problem. I liked this word, not perfection, progression. It's real, but I observe and in myself too. Sometimes I say, oh, I didn't do good, so you are stupid. And after that, cancel. But at this moment, I think this pressure to be or to look perfect to ourselves, because people don't know that. It's big pressure, and I think it's quite difficult for people to just accept it's a step 1. After I will have the step 2. I will progress. How can we help them to just change or move this idea?
The easiest way is to have them look in the rearview mirror. Is there anything you do now really well that you were able to do just as well when you were 3 years old? Walking, talking, reading, writing, playing an instrument. Look back at how many things you didn't do perfect the first time you did it. Matter of fact, you're still not doing it perfect. Yeah, you still can't do something better in that. Have them go, and so it puts it what's called into perspective. It's not this event looking through a soda straw. Let's open this up and look at life experience. Well, when I think of some of the first classes of Silva that I taught, I cringe. Oh, it was terrible. I mean, I could read the words on the exercises, but give a little bit of a description. But then a year later, 2 years later, I said, boy, I'm glad that this is now it's really good. 10 years later, that was terrible, compared to the way I play the guitar now, compared to the way I, live my relationship with my wife, the way it was. I mean, yeah, there were different things back then because I was 20-something years old. I was a different person at that age. So of course I did some things differently. But the depth of the relationship, that history. So that is one of the things there. A person who's down on themselves is typically stuck in this thing I just did right now. It didn't come out the way I wanted. That's your ego. I should, they should, must, supposed to, have to, shouldn't, all these modal operators of how things are supposed to be. It would be nice if I was better at it. What can I learn from it? This isn't failure. This is, use the failure feedback in your habit course. There is no such thing as failure, but there is feedback that didn't work. What do I need to keep? And what do I need to change and do different? Now let's try it again. The tote method. What do I need to keep? What do I need to change? What do I need to keep until you exit? Okay, I got the result I wanted. Can I get this consistently or enough that I feel that I'm mastered? I still make mistakes playing the guitar. Doesn't mean I don't play the guitar well. It just means I'm not perfect. But I made up my mind many years ago. It's not even like I got it from Gandhi's wife, actually. I don't even have the goal of wanting to be perfect. That's not even something I want to achieve. I don't even strive for that. I do want to grow. I do want to learn. And I want to continue becoming more and more of who and what I can be and who and what I want to be. But I'm not going to let my ego be the one that determines that. I'm going to let my higher self, my spiritual awareness, let that pull me in that direction more and more often. Even when I go back, it's not there or there. More, less, but overall progression.
I like it. Thanks. Lee, you have something to share, to tell?
I just would like to say thank you very much for making that so clear. In fact, if they can understand that the very fact that they're trying to be perfect is a bad habit, they can suddenly let go of that as well. Yeah, that's terrific. Thanks, Jerry.
That's the little ego. The little ego. Just notice, when is it my little ego that wants it my way? That's your little ego. How do you get out of the box and say, "Oh, let me look at that"? That's what mindfulness is. Let me take that thing that's down on myself. Let me look at that out here, external, dissociated. Okay, yeah. There's a lot of value in that. It's good that you want to be better. That has value. All has value. So what can I learn from that? Yes, that gets me to want to do it again, but maybe make some changes to keep learning, to keep practicing, to get, maybe hire a coach or a hypnotist or go back through a class again. Let me just keep going. And that's what I'm so distinguished. When is it your little ego trying to run the show? And when are you, what did they say? Accept the things I cannot change, but have the courage to put in some effort and change the things that I can. And my biggest standing point is, but I want the wisdom to know the difference, because sometimes I'm trying to accept things I shouldn't accept and try to change things I can't change. So I want the wisdom. And it's not all or nothing, but to what part of it can I change? What part do I need to accept? To how much do I? And just learning. That's the whole thing. That's all of life. There's not a human being, a plant, or an animal, or a planet, or a star that doesn't go through. You're born, you live, you get sick, and you die. Sorry about that, but that's the way the laws of the universe are constructed. So either accept it or become God. That's your only alternative.
Right. And as long as we keep growing, we're getting better and better, but we don't try and be best, do we?
Better,
And better.
Better and better is not the same as I got to be the best.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Progressive. That's great. Thank you, Jerry, for your time. Thank you, Lee, for you. And if people have some question, just give us some feedback, and like that we can talk about this with Lee or with Jerry if he wants to do one more session like that. And I will put his website if you want to have some information. And like each time, take what is good for you. Just test, observe, and do your own conclusion because you are yourself. And take care. Bye-bye.
I have a question.
Yeah.
To the people that are watching this, if you have even a hunch that there's even one person you know that would benefit from even one thing that was done during this presentation progress, even one thing that might help them make a little more progress, share this with them.
Yeah, that's real. That's good. So thank you. See ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you.